Massive news this weekend coming from the Blake Lively vs. Justin Baldoni lawsuit as Taylor Swift has responded via a spokesperson. I'm going to share what she has to say. It is not good for Blake Lively as Taylor Swift essentially wants nothing to do with this. In fact, kind of shows that she's distancing herself by saying, I didn't even see this movie for weeks on end. I was out doing my international tour, humble brag. So again, I'm going to read what this spokesperson for Taylor Swift has to say. You know, a lot of times you'll say like a source reveals this or a source reveals that. They're claiming this is a Taylor Swift spokesperson who's reached out to TMZ. So we're going to get into multiple aspects of this story. So in this video, and again, a lot to get into. So I know you might have weekend chores before Mother's Day. Take a break. I know I'm taking a break from my weekend chores. My wife's got me installed garden beds, and guess what? She wanted to do it on the hill. That means I have to dig into it. I'm covered in clay. It is, my back hurts. It's a mess. Anyhow, I'd rather be here with you guys than back-breaking work. I'm going to make the most expensive carrots. Let me tell you something. It's costing us $1,400 just to get some organic carrots. Pray for me. Taylor Swift subpoenaed as witness in Lively Baldoni case. Dragged further into the case. So we know this. We knew she would be subpoenaed. It was no joke. I'm going to share exactly what Blake Lively's lawyers have to say about this. Now, it makes sense that she's subpoenaed for several reasons. But first, I want to share why they think she shouldn't be subpoenaed. Here's what Blake Lively's team had to say in response to Justin Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, saying, hey, you want your story out there? Let's live stream this at Madison Square Gardens, right? Let's let everybody see. We'll donate the money to DV victims. Here's the response. This is a case about what happened to Blake Lively when she raised claims of harassment on the set. It's not a case about how songs were chosen for the movie. It's not a case about fictional Marvel characters in Deadpool movies. Gottlieb went on to point out, you have to ask the question then, why are these people being subpoenaed? Of course, that's referring to Taylor Swift because she has a song in the movie. Do they have any actual relevance to the case at hand? You can't just go around subpoenaing people because they're famous and you think it will generate a bunch of headlines. And the federal courts don't tolerate that kind of behavior. At this time, he explained it is uncertain if Lively's husband Ryan Reynolds will testify, as he is currently named as a defendant in Baldoni's countersuit. Lively's team is working to get those claims dismissed. Now, how rich? Coming from Blake Lively's attorney, saying, you can't just subpoena them because they're famous. Well, how about this? Blake Lively can't just name drop Taylor Swift as one of her dragons without, understanding that might bring Taylor Swift into the melee here, right? It's not like Justin Baldoni was like, let's subpoena Chappell Roan. She has nothing to do with the case. Blake Lively was there. She was in the room when Baldoni claims that Ryan Reynolds was berating him, right? The Sony executive that was in that room says they've never seen somebody talk down to somebody like that ever. This being Ryan Reynolds to Justin Baldoni. Well, if Blake Lively was there, if Taylor Swift was there, I think it's important to the story to find out what was said, right? That's important. Baldoni's attorney Brian Friedman hits back at Mike Gottlieb's remarks and accused him of trying to deflect from the case. Although obviously uncomfortable for the Lively parties, the truth is not a distraction. The truth has been clearly shown through unedited receipts, documents, and real-life footage. More to come. Brian Friedman continued, Blake was the one who brought her high-profile friends into the situation without concern for their own personal or public backlash. As the truth shows, she used her dragons to manipulate Justin at every turn. I didn't read this yet. I wanted my live reaction, so good to see that power attorney Brian Friedman and your boy power recapper Dave Neal are on the same page. Brian Friedman's final remark was a nod to Lively's alleged text messages to Baldoni in which she referred to Swift and Reynolds' dragons. In the alleged text, she compares herself to Khaleesi from Game of Thrones and explains, for better or worse, her dragons protect what she fights for. Well, for better or worse, your dragons are going to get subpoenaed. That's just how it works. Bring your dragons into the fight. The dragon's going to have to go to trial, right? Does this dragon solemnly swear to tell the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? No fire breathing in the courtroom, please. Anyway, so that takes us to Taylor Swift, subpoenaed as witness. Now, here's the bombshell, right? Because if you were wondering whether or not Taylor Swift and Blake Lively are still buddies, Blake Lively would make you feel that way. But Taylor Swift certainly does not. She's distancing herself from Blake Lively the way you distance yourself from a one-night stand who gets too clingy. Oh, Samantha? No, I don't even know Samantha. Samantha's like, we spent the night together. And you're like, Samantha, I took you to Taco Bell. We canoodled behind the bleachers of the football stadium. What do you want from me? I don't even know this person. Samantha's like, you're one of my dragons. And it's like, okay, easy. Taylor Swift is being dragged further into this. All right, we got that. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ Baldoni's attorney Brian Friedman has now subpoenaed Taylor as a witness. Taylor's camp is blasting the subpoena because they say she was minimally involved in the drama on the set, which sparked a nasty legal war between Blake and Justin. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Taylor was minimally involved. I truly believe that. I don't believe Taylor Swift was involved with any on-set drama. I just believe Taylor Swift was involved and was witness to what went down in the penthouse the night that Baldoni was getting a dressing down or a talking down, whatever you want to call it, from Ryan Reynolds. A spokesperson for Taylor Swift tells TMZ, Taylor Swift never set foot on the set of this movie. She was not involved in any casting or creative decisions. She did not score the film. She never saw an edit or made any notes on the film. She did not even see It Ends With Us until weeks after its public release and was traveling around the globe during 2023 and 2024, headlining the biggest tour in history. Boom shakalaka. Listen, I believe they wouldn't type this if this wasn't a Taylor Swift spokesperson, but like, who says that? This is very Trumpian of them. Headlining the biggest tour in human history. You've never seen a tour as big as Taylor Swift's. Like, I don't believe Taylor would say that, but hey, I guess that's what a hype man is for, right? The rep continued. The connection Taylor had to this film was permitting the use of one song, My Tears Ricochet. The subpoena's going to ricochet off of your mailbox when they deliver it to you. Can you imagine subpoenaing her while she's performing? You just like get on stage and just, hey, can you sign this? You've been subpoenaed. Did they have to ask, are you Taylor Swift? Because, if there's a stranger, they have to ask, your name. You have to confirm your name. I guess maybe it's implied she is Taylor Swift, although lots of lookalikes out there. A lot of weekend parties with Taylor Swift, lookalikes. Big money there. The connection Taylor had to this film was permitting the use of one song. Given that her involvement was licensing a song for the film, which 19 other artists also did, this document subpoena is designed to use Taylor Swift's name to draw public interest by creating tabloid clickbait instead of focusing on the facts of the case. Oh, next thing you know, you're going to get low-rent Joe Rogan in here to come. And by the way, I take offense to being called low-rent Joe Rogan. I have a healthy head of hair. There is nothing Joe Rogan about this hair. This is Rogaine hair, actually. In fact, for the rest of the video, we're going to go and let the hair flow because that's what you do on a Saturday. I look like I teach English at the local community college. I got Henry David Thoreau hair. As reported, Justin claims Taylor was more involved than just licensing a song. He says she gave a thumbs up to his casting of Isabella Ferrer as young Lily Bloom. So there they are doing that white girl, woo, just the shoulders hanging out, looking so cool. You gotta watch out, Blake Lively. You get these young moms away from their kids, they go buck wild. Blake's they're having a good time, right? Tell the nanny she's working overtime tonight. Mommy's got a hangover. Plus, there's the issue of that critical meeting between Blake and Justin at her New York penthouse. That's the one I'm thinking of, right? Justin has said the meeting got super heated and he felt ambushed because Blake's husband, Ryan, was there and then Taylor showed up. Yeah, again, I don't think, from everything I've seen, Taylor did anything worse than just try to be a good friend. I think any good friend would do that. You find out, imagine you get a phone, you get a phone call from your friend, right? And your friend's like, my boss touched me. They're the worst. And you're like, we're going to sink that mother effer. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then later on, you find out from the boss that he's like, it was way more reasonable than the claims made. It's kind of like we've been covering the Indian American man who was charged with kidnapping at the Walmart in Georgia. If you don't know the story, we've been covering it. I actually have a short that's gone super viral, almost over 250,000 views, maybe 500,000 views at this point. And it was a guy that from all security footage was just helping a lady out, and she claimed he was kidnapping her. And everyone, he was in jail for 45 days, and then eventually they let him out because they looked at the evidence and they were like, well, maybe we shouldn't just believe all these claims that exist out there. And I kind of feel like Taylor Swift is the same. She's like, no, I was a ride or die for my lady. And because I've seen this firsthand, where you think you've got a friend who's super normal, sassy, funny, successful, whatever, and then all of a sudden they go crazy. There was this one friend of mine. We were in Long Beach, California, and she was a nice person, whatever. And then we went to some late night food place, and they got her order wrong, and she berated the wait staff. And we were so embarrassed. We were like, oh my gosh, what in the trigger was this all about? I would have never in a million years thought anyone would do that. Is Blake like that in the sense that she completely rewrote the history because she was offended, rejected, or otherwise? And again, it happens. People get triggered. Now, it doesn't make it right. But it does happen. And maybe Taylor realized Blake's that way, a control freak. And maybe Blake, again, we've talked about this. Again, it doesn't make it right. But clearly something happened that made her go from, bitchy in interviews to full-blown, Khaleesi trying to take over the film. And what was that? Was it a combination of the stresses of aging, postpartum? Was it just the stress of being in an intimate movie after having a baby and not knowing if the final edit was going to make you look good? Again, it doesn't make it right, but something happened that made this situation way worse. Was it working with Justin Baldoni, a good-looking man who was younger than your husband, and he was making you feel a way you haven't felt since the good old days, since the pre-war times? I mean, who knows? Justin has said the meeting got super heated. So here's a text. If you ever get around to watching Game of Thrones, you'll appreciate that I'm Khaleesi, and like her, I happen to have a few dragons, for better or worse, but usually for better, because my dragons also protect those I fight for. So really, we all benefit from those gorgeous monsters of mine. You will too, I can promise you. And again, I never saw this as a threat. I saw this as somebody name-dropping their friends because she's happened to be friends with a pop star. And again, if you're Taylor Swift, I can't repeat this enough, the amount of trust issues that Taylor Swift probably has from people trying to leech off of her career. Literally every single person she meets wants a piece of that. They want a piece of everything she's got, right? She's the biggest pop star in the world. And for her to find out that Blake Lively was using her name behind the scenes as leverage, I have to imagine that's the biggest blow because Taylor Swift doesn't need money or power or respect or any of those things. She needs people in her life she can trust. And Blake Lively is no longer that. And I don't think you get that back right away. So there's your update as far as that's concerned. Now, with regard to whether or not Taylor Swift was involved at all, according to Blake Lively, this is why the subpoena exists.
She was so perfect. She was with me throughout this whole process. So I think that, for better or worse, she was, experienced the whole thing with me.
I mean, honestly, she was with me on this experience the whole time.
Your Honor, it appears she was with her, and Taylor Swift's like, I literally wasn't with her. I was selling out stadiums in Japan. Like, what are you talking about? So again, Blake Lively's going to continue to be asked on her press tour about Taylor Swift, and she can openly discuss it because Taylor Swift has a song in the movie, and that was a big deal for the movie to get a Taylor Swift song approved, Anyway, so that's where that stands. Now, here's what's interesting. I want to kind of go through this quickly. If you want a deeper dive, you got to check out our friend Lauren's page, the Court of Random Opinion, where she covers this. But this is the screenshot from that stream that discusses the Wayfair Parties objecting to information that Blake Lively wants to get based on the Van Zandt lawsuit. The Van Zandt lawsuit was the sham lawsuit created by Van Zandt, a company that Blake Lively owned that had nothing to do with this case. They used that to get the text messages from Stephanie Jones, which was the real only evidence they have that there was a smear campaign. The Wayfair Parties object to request propounded upon by Mr. Baldoni. It will not search for or produce documents or information responsive to this request. Request number 60 seeks information regarding Mr. Baldoni's asserted neurodivergent conditions, which he admits he has communicated about in connection with Ms. Lively's allegations and has relied on to explain his alleged harassment, retaliation, and other inappropriate behavior. This information is demonstrably relevant to Ms. Lively's claims, including but not limited to her claims of harassment and retaliation in violation of the Title VII California's Fair Employment and Housing Act, the California Labor Code, and the Wayfair Parties argument otherwise without support does not relieve them of their obligations to produce a responsive, non-privileged document. It is also relevant to Mr. Baldoni's alleged conduct in influencing the public narrative regarding this conduct on the set of the film at her expense. Please advise if the Wayfair Parties are willing to reconsider their position. So the text message they're talking about is this one from Justin to Jennifer Abel. Again, these are the text message obtained by a sham subpoena. Hey guys, one thing I think I want to do is the Dr. Amen show. Matt, I know you have your feelings about it, but his practice saved my friend Miranda's life a few months ago. With everything going on, I want to have an offensive move showing my neurodivergence and some of the attributes that come with it so that I can start talking about it. Most anything that I have been accused of is social awkwardness and impulsive speech. And I think me sitting down with him and just looking at my brain and talking about some of these things will be helpful for me. And by the way, this is the type of conversation, while you don't want it to be public, is the one you have. You go, look, if he's accused of being creepy or holding eye contact too long or being very assertive, and he says, look, those are all attributes to my neurodiversity, the way my brain works, the blueprint that gets me from A to B, can sometimes have collateral damage. There's a wake and a no wake zone. And that is, maybe he's very abrupt as a director. Maybe his neurodiversity, again, everyone's is different. Everyone's brain works differently and their processors work differently. So I'm not pretending to understand what's under the hood of Justin Baldoni's car here, metaphorically speaking. I don't know what he's got, but most people don't. But as you learn about your life, you realize, maybe I get very specific with what I want because I have this vision and I have to see this vision from A to B and I have to see how it looks on camera. So just stand on the effing line, right? In that moment where Blake Lively's like, oh, the light's behind us. And then Justin Baldoni's like, that's how it's supposed to be. He might come off abrupt, but what he's saying is, I need to see this on the monitors. I'm directing a movie that I'm starring in. So I have to shoot the scene, go right there and don't move. Be on that side. I need to, and he doesn't even say it like that. But the point I'm making is sometimes you can be abrupt when you're trying to communicate your point. We've all been there. And, people come off like a-holes and women come off like bitches. But the truth is, it's like we're all just animals trying to learn how to communicate with each other, even if we all have slightly different mappings of the way our brains work. So for him to say, look, I wanted to go on and show that, you might say I'm smelling your neck or doing all these weird things, but I'm trying to act. I'm trying to be in the scene. I'm trying to relate. I'm trying to keep you happy. If he's walking on eggshells around her and he tells her she looks beautiful or whatever, it could just be him with his toolkit saying, I'm just trying to please you. I'm trying to create a cohesive set here when Khaleesi and her dragons are storming around. So again, I like Baldoni's attempt here at empathy. It's his attempt to say, here's where I'm at. I might look like a guy who's real attractive and a D-bag because I have all these muscles and whatever, but maybe that's just me trying to physically control what I can't control internally. Hey, isn't that a shocker? So remember that when you're at Home Goods today and there's some guy with truck nuts on the back of his truck waving some "Don't Tread on Me" flag and he's yelling at people and cutting them off. Maybe that's just an inner child who's being a little bit of an asshole because he hasn't learned how to deal with his emotions. I know, it's like we just have to live in these worlds with people that are like that. Cue the comment section. Get therapy. So either way, there's your updates, and I think that's all I got for you on this Saturday. But I do have another video I made that is me interviewing an amazing theologian, and we talked about the new Pope. And we actually talked about how the Pope may have been elected to combat some Christian nationalism. Now, we're all for Christianity or whatever religion you want to have, but there is sort of this hijacking of Christianity by the political party, which, of course, we saw when J.D. Vance was corrected by the Pope when he tried to say certain principles about Catholicism that he just converted to. And the Pope's like, actually, that's not how it works. So anyway, we have a really nice conversation if you want some more highbrow thinking about religion, politics, pop culture, and how it's all intertwined in society, because it's hard to pull one out from another in our world, right? If you enjoy that, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and go give that video a watch. As far as other thoughts on Taylor Swift and what to expect next, she can object all she wants to the subpoena, but this ain't just some random person they're using to get clickbait. She was in the room, and I think it's fair if put it this way, when Justin Baldoni had to sign that 14 or 17 bullet point document, one of the things was mentioned was that there was friends that were witnesses to what went down. Well, now we need to get them on record. I would love to hear what Taylor Swift has to say. Obviously, she's going to avoid that like the plague, because even if she's distancing herself from her friend, I think it would look pretty damning. Now, if you're a good friend of somebody, like if my friend, let's put it this way, even Clayton Eckert, right? I'm not even a good friend of Clayton. God bless him. We're, I think we respect each other and this and that, but we're not like bros, or maybe we are. But either way, his accuser's going to trial October 26th. If they need me to fly to Scottsdale to testify, I'm going, because I want truth to win out. And I believe if Taylor Swift really had some truth to tell about Blake Lively that would vindicate her, I believe she would also be strongly saying, take me on the stand. I can help out. We haven't seen that happen. All right, that's it for us. Have a good weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you later. I'm Dave. This was an extra weekend episode of The Rush.